Welcome to the first episode of War Weekly.
Robert and I are both working on film and series on World War III, so there's so many news stories that come at us all day. We thought maybe it would be good to do a weekly update of all the top news stories.
Every war is hybrid anyways, but what we live through since 2020 is extremely hybrid because there are combinations of psychological warfare, which in NATO calls cognitive warfare. There is an attack on our food supply chains. There is an attack on the economy, and war is always robbery, which we can also demonstrate in the following episodes.
We got here is this sort of meme cartoon wars that both the White House and then Iran responded, putting out humoristic meme videos in this big expansion of videos put out to promote the Iran war, which was kind of bizarre, making humorous things about killing people and in warfare. And so the Iranians responded by making all these funny Lego.
P-Hexif, this one's specially for you. You punk-ass rapist bitch, straight from Iran.
Cartoons calling Trump a loser, that they're going to fail at everything. The Americans are getting pounded. So it was quite a new thing in warfare, having the use of humorous cartoon videos.
Yeah, it's funny because this normally would be the role of dissidents. Normally, dissidents would do cartoons of their so-called leaders and head of states, and especially in war times, this is often a bit prohibited. But here, both governments of Iran and the United States are doing this, so which is really, really mentionable. I think, in a way, we see this the last couple of years already, that these governments, not just the one of the United States, but all Western governments seem to be a parody of themselves. They don't take themselves that serious anymore, and people on the street do the same.
The next story I just briefly mentioned is that conscientious objectors are proliferating in the U.S. One NGO that helps military people conscientiously object to their service said they've seen a 10 times increase in conscientious objectors. There's a huge rising anti-war sentiment. Trump was elected to not start more wars. It appears like he was doing that the first 3 months, but since then, really getting involved in every single conflict imaginable.
It's interesting. It seems like a hoax from the start. I mean, I don't think the geopolitics have been so different. I feel like he's just continuing the politics which were under the so-called Biden administration. Fundamentally,
there is never huge shifts, but I'd say there's more war going on now.
And so the narrative could be, oh look, the peace president is having more wars, so these wars were unavoidable, So he couldn't change it. There was a kind of political necessity to it.
I mean, war is not necessary. I don't think we need it.
And at the same time that we are bombarded with how strong the United States are and how dramatic the situation is in Iran, important battles are hidden from our side.
The U.S. has been getting hit very hard. I'll put a graphic on the screen here. I think 27 bases have been destroyed or attacked brutally. The U.S. admits that 13 have been destroyed. One recent attack that occurred on the 27th of March was on the Bubiyan Island. This is in Kuwait. This is very, very close to Karg Island. The Iranians put out a video.
The 82nd Airborne Division of the U.S. military was ambushed by Iran. The 2,000 soldiers of the 1st Brigade of the 82nd Airborne Division arrived at the Bubiyan Island military base in Kuwait by C-17 Globemaster III transport aircraft, preparing to launch a ground assault on Iran's Karg Island. Iran obtained the exact time of the arrival of the Vanguard Brigade through its intelligence network in a third country. 5 top-notch Special Forces soldiers of the Quds force disguised as shepherds infiltrated the area 1 mile north of the 1st Brigade's assembly point 2 days in advance. Meanwhile, 3 electronic jamming vehicles were deployed at the Kuwait-Iran border. Once everything was in place, Iran launched a full-scale attack at around 1 a.m. The first step was to activate the electronic jamming vehicles, which immediately disabled the radar at the assembly point and cut off the communication system. The second step was for the infiltrated special forces to activate the laser target designators they carried, providing precise coordinates for the airstrike. The third step was for 36 Ababel 3 drones carrying high explosives to fly low and destroy the ammunition depot and armed helicopters. The fourth step was for 4 F-4E fighter jets to fly at a height of 30 meters, penetrating the radar blind zone. They first used 2 Cage-25 anti-radiation missiles to destroy the radar at the assembly point, and then, guided by the laser from the Iranian special forces, dropped a large number of high-explosive bombs on the barracks area of the assembly point. 2 high-explosive bombs were also dropped into the command room of the 1st Brigade of the U.S. military, killing 8 commanders on the spot. What is most unacceptable is that Iran returned to Iran without any casualties throughout the entire operation.
This is a huge story. It appeared just in Iranian statements and like 1 or 2 obscure news sites. I found this completely unreported in the West. So there's just events like this happening every day. As well, they were attacking these U.S. bases. A lot of the personnel were then relocating into hotels in Dubai and these Gulf states. Then the Iranians were attacking the U.S. military personnel in the hotels. So in the Western press, they don't mention that side of it. Why are these hotels being hit? It was because they were chasing down these American servicemen to get them out of the region. We all hear about the gas shortages. They shut off the fuel through the Straits of Hormuz, but a huge amount of the world's fertilizer also passes through the Straits of Hormuz, and this is just before the growing season in the northern hemisphere of the world. So we're going to experience severe spikes in fertilizer prices, which will cause potentially famines in Asia. This is going to hit Asia and East Africa very hard. So
it is, in fact, the biggest story for me, which is linked to the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, because it's so vital. I can survive without gas for the cars, but I cannot survive without food. So if I understand it correctly, the percentage of fertilizers blocked by this action in Iran is even way higher than the percentage of oil exports. And this is in fact logical because there's a German invention, the Haber-Bosch process, in which you can create fertilizers from natural gas. So the natural gas is both the component of it, so it gives the component, but it also gives the necessary heat and energy to do the process. So the whole point of having the production of fertilizers in that region is, of course, because of natural gas as a byproduct of oil drilling, but also natural gas resources in itself. So the biggest producers of fertilizers in the world are Russia and the countries of that region. And another one, which is really important, is China. So what we have in Europe is a very dire situation. I just want to remind you that, various legislations, various political decrees have hindered the use of fertilizers in Europe. So, and in addition to this, there is a rewildering project in Europe, which makes that more and more agricultural land is just left alone, and the fertilizer is in fact responsible for half of the production. So if we have no fertilizer, we will have half the food. So all this combined together makes the sustainability of Western countries questionable. I want to stress that these sanctions against Russia, in fact, also are blocking part of the import of fertilizers from Russia. The war in Ukraine is, of course, hindering the agricultural production of Ukraine, which is extremely strong in that country. And what people are not aware of, in addition to this, end of 2025, the Chinese government, together with the producers, decided to stop exports of fertilizers to other countries, especially to Europe. So we have three reasons to be in panic here. And, as I think war is hybrid, and you tell to the others, oh, I'm attacking this country, but then I'm attacking that country, I think that considering that this attack of Iran by Israel and the United States is happening in the beginning of spring, the time where fertilizer is needed most, means also that this war against Iran is a war against Europe and probably many other countries who are dependent from fertilizers for their survival.
What Israel has unleashed, attacking Iran and then getting the U.S. involved in this attack on Iran, is one of the most monumentally stupidest things that the America has ever undertaken. It has basically destroyed U.S. reputation around the world and caused a cascade of energy crisis, food crisis that were very predictable. And one can't help but wonder if this is intentional to basically destroy the West. I mean, bring the U.S. to its knees, destroy its reputation, get the whole world to turn against the U.S. and Israel, and then by default Europe. So I think we're going to see this war probably continue longer.
I mean, this is why I want to do this show. This is, for me, there is always war going on the world. Each year of history there was war somewhere, and there was tension somewhere too, and most countries were somehow involved. But really, in 2020, I think the level changed. And we really saw that the war is a class war, of the plutocrats against the rest of it, and a technique in war is to play the crazy guy and be unforeseeable and tell the people you do this and this is your aim, and in fact your aim is something else. The art of deception is core to successful warfare, and I think that stupidity, no, it's not about stupidity. For me, clearly the bad image giving to the United States and Israel is part of a strategy of suiciding the West so that we'll have an even playing field for a system of global governance. We will not maybe call it global governance, we just call it multipolar world order, but this is what they want, and they will say, oh, it's federal, it's federal, we'll have regions and we have countries, and then we'll have a global entity which organizes what has to be organized globally. But we should call it global government and not multipolar world order.
Yeah, these jerks will create such a headache of the world, turn everything upside down so badly. Then they say, oh, guys, that sucks so bad. This was so bad. Now we need this new order to replace it so we don't have a headache like that again. And then it's the same guys running it. So it's just, it's a problem, reaction, solution,
The speech of Donald Trump yesterday, in fact, he focused very much on having the other countries liberate the Strait of Hormuz. So he said, okay, if you need the oil, just come, liberate it.
So if you send naval escorts to escort the tankers, there's never enough ships to escort these thousands and thousands of ships that are going through there every day. On top of that, they're just sitting targets to be shot at. So all Iran has to do is blow up one tanker, and then none of them go through there. And there's no solution. The U.S. cannot militarily force the situation. If they release these strategic reserve oils, that just affects the prices for a few days. So there's really nothing you can do other than diplomacy. America needs to stop bombing Iran and start talking to them. But Trump has really just sent these sleazy real estate agent guys, real estate developer people, to go negotiate with them, Witkoff and Kushner, and there's been a very negative experience the Iranians had.
I think that the aim of Trump is to escalate the wars so it becomes bigger and the Western European countries become part of it because they need the oil, they need the fertilizer. The United States don't need it. This is what he stressed.
The countries of the world that do receive oil through the Hormuz Strait must take care of that passage. They must cherish it. They must grab it and cherish it. They can do it easily. We will be helpful, but they should take the lead in protecting the oil that they so desperately depend on.
He created a problem which wasn't there before. It seems now to be the aim of the war to liberate the Strait of Hormuz, which was free before the war. And when we now have the UK, Italy, Spain, and France, and Germany, and so on and so forth, and let's say Australia and New Zealand, all involved in the fight against Iran, which is then supported by Russia and China, then we have a real great war, a world war, which is really kinetic, which you can really see, where soldiers from many countries will die. And as you stressed, these big boats are slow, inflammable, and an easy target. You can shoot on them from every place in Iran. It doesn't need to be close to the waterfront. It can be everywhere.
Trump is asking Europe to help out, but they couldn't do anything either.
Exactly. So he's not honest about this point, which but at least it's a narrative. At least it's a narrative which then says, okay, we have to attack Iran because we need our cars to run. We shouldn't even talk about fertilizer and our food. I mean, it's a way, it's in the interest of the United States, seemingly, to have as many partners in that war as possible. And also what Iran did was escalating it towards other countries. So it wouldn't be very surprising that Saudi Arabia and other countries, join Israel and the United States in this war.
To conclude, there's a risk of the Ukraine war and this war kind of melding together, and Russia and China are assisting Iran heavily with intelligence, with satellite information. They're helping them for the targeting of their missiles, giving them a lot of the satellite intelligence. And now that the fertilizer issue and other things, this has the potential of drawing China into the conflict.
And maybe it's not a coincidence that a few days ago, Ukraine bombarded oil refineries of Russia and used drones for it and flew over the Baltic states. And there was a battle over the states, which in a way made them part of the war, even though there was no official permit. If the Baltic states are in the war, then the European Union and then the NATO would be in the war, and this is exactly where it seems to go.
It's like watching a car crash in slow motion. You're like,
yeah,
don't do it. Well, anyway, thanks for watching this, and we will be coming out with one every week to summarize the week's news stories and give you a deeper analysis. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.